Pantalone should be physical, and if you're unsure why, I would recommend watching my first video, where I explain how his lore and design support the physical playstyle. But if you just want to know what his kit would be, don't worry, I'll be going over that here too. And if you're unfamiliar with who I am, my name is Chelsea and I write characters, but before we discuss his story quest, we have to talk one more time about Pantalone and why he should be physical. For those that didn't see my last video, I came back to the game a year ago and have only recently begun learning how to build characters and their teams, so if his kit is unbalanced or doesn't make sense, just know I'm still learning. Let's get into this, starting with his signature weapon. He would be a sword user. Nothing else makes sense for him, especially when you consider my concept for his animations and playstyle, which are based on fencing mixed with Russian swordsmanship. Why fencing? Well, during the Middle Ages and Renaissance it was tied to status. It was essential to a nobleman's education and regarded as a display of discipline and grace. It showed one's ability to think quickly on their feet and was a practical skill for self-defense and dueling. With Pantalone's rise from poverty to a man of status and immense wealth, it makes sense that he would do the necessary training to present himself as a nobleman from birth, especially when you consider that he's at least 400 years old, and there would be people that no longer remember him as he was before becoming the Procreator. To create his weapon, I referenced Clorin's weapon, Absolution, and Zabai's weapon, Light-Bearing Moonshard. Being a physical unit, the attack would have to be 800 plus, making it the highest attack on a weapon so far. Its substat would be crit damage at 88.2%, and its passive would be attack is increased by 20%, and for each stack of debt it increases crit rate by 8% with a maximum of 5 stacks. The design of this weapon would be based on a cane sword, and though he's never depicted with one, it makes sense for his personality. Canes are often associated with declining health or status, both fitting reasons for Pantalone to have one. And honestly, regardless of the reason, you can't tell me it wouldn't be fun beating your enemies with a cane sword. So then he'd play like Clorin, right? A duelist? No, I think the only character that makes sense is... Seriously? Seriously, just hear me out. I don't mean like Ayato's hard cuts between animations, but instead his speed with a more fluid motion. I'm going to assume you know how normal and charged attacks work. Let's jump straight to his skill. On Pantalone's design you can see a chain, which I'm fairly confident is a pocket watch. For his skill, he pulls out this pocket watch where we then hear a ticking clock. This ticking sound will tell the player when the credit state is active, while also serving as a reminder of his limited time left. You may remember him stating that he only has a few vials of his elixir of immortality left. As long as the credit state is active, Pantalone will gain a buff to his movement speed and normal attack damage. As he attacks enemies, he applies marks of debt, which is signaled to the player both visually and audibly with a sound. The player is able to count how many times they hear this sound to know how many enemies are marked. A maximum of 5 can be marked at a time. His burst would have an energy cost of 60, like Arlecchino. When using his burst, all existing debt stacks are collected, dealing additional physical damage bonus in a large area of effect, based on the number of debts collected. Debt stacks are then reset. I designed this with the intention of it being easy to play without walls of text. For the animation, the camera moves in, showing Pantalone's trademark smile, his eyes closed. He removes his coat as his eyes open, his smile twisting into a manipulative grin. His purple eyes glow from the darkness as he drops his coat, striking all enemies in the area. When it came to constellations, I was unsure of what other buffs to give him without breaking the kit I had designed so far, but I can't wait to hear your ideas in the comments. However, I did come up with Ascension passives. The first is Pantalone's physical damage cannot be overridden by elemental infusion. I know people would want to try it, but it defeats the point of me designing him as a physical character. I really believe this playstyle is worth saving. And if you're interested, I also have ideas for a dedicated support created by the Fontaine Research Institute. The second passive is for every nearby enemy marked with debt, Pantalone gains an 8% physical damage bonus, maximum 5 stacks. I had trouble finding a better place for it. Looking back, it probably would have fit into a constellation better. His exploration talent is when set on an expedition in Shesnaya, he brings back additional Mora. If on an expedition without Mora, he comes back additionally with Mora. We know that stellar reactions are coming, and for the sake of the argument, let's say the equivalent of moon signs are called star signs. So, if he's physical, How does he benefit from having another star sign character in the party? I think similar to some characters released during Notcry, he should be an exception. However, if we were to give him synergy with other star sign units, he could receive a further buff to his speed and maybe interruption resistance. I'll be the first to admit that this kit is not perfect. Maybe one day I'll revisit the idea again and add constellations or rebalance it with the knowledge of what's to come, especially if he never becomes playable, but for now, I'm satisfied with this. But why write his story quest? Good question. We have no way to know for sure if he will ever be playable, but I just can't allow myself to come up with a version where he is and not include a story quest, especially since I love writing stories and I've never written fanfiction before, which I suppose this falls under. I have some strong opinions regarding character quests, and that begins with, they shouldn't have been forced into the Archon quest. Archon quests serve to move the main plot forward. Character quests should serve mostly to give us a reason to like the character or deepen their lore while letting us try the character. Their stories can explore their past or show us relationships with other characters, even NPCs. And more often than not, I think character quests fail to do this, which is why they've been forced into the Archon quest. Now, I am not the best writer, but I am certainly a good writer, and I know that I'm capable of proving this point. I said in my last video I would rewrite every single character story quest if you all were interested. The truth is I had already made up my mind to do at least some of them, not just 5 stars either. I would completely rewrite Hangouts into proper story quests, and if you're curious, my eyes are set on Kokomi first. In the end, these story quests are just for fun, and something I wanted to do. I love this game, I love its characters, and I know, there are even better stories to tell here, but we can discuss my feelings about character quests more in another video. I think it's time we discuss Pantalone's hypothetical story quest. Before I share with you this story, let's address a few things first, starting with the fact that I'm not a voice actor. I am still going to do my best to inject emotion into these scenes, but it's not going to be perfect. I won't be trying to do my best impressions of characters like Paimon or any male characters because I know my voice probably can't do it. I don't have connections to voice actors or know of any way to get in touch with them, and honestly, I'd be too nervous to ask them for help knowing there's nothing I can give them in return. Fair exchange, Pantalone would probably say. Another thing I want to address is the footage. We know this isn't an official quest, so what's a girl to do? Well, I went around Teyvat and filmed as much as I could to recreate how this might play in-game. My goal was for this to feel similarly to watching a playthrough or a guide on YouTube. The last thing is I don't have a name for this quest, so if you'd like to suggest one, feel free to let me know what you'd call it in the comments. Enough with the delay, I suppose. Here's my idea for a Pantalone story quest. I hope you enjoy. A Fatui agent approaches the traveler, holding out to them a handwritten invitation. The parchment is thick, the ink a deep shade of black, closed with a wax seal of Pantalone's Harbinger icon. It's clearly expensive. The Regrader invites you to dine with him at Hotel de Board at his expense. It's in Fontaine. I'm sure you're familiar with the place.
I've been there before.
The Fatui agent takes a step closer, the traveler and Paimon flinching. Then please take this invitation. You'll need to present it on arrival. The traveler hesitates before taking the invitation. The Fatui agent places their feet together before conducting an about-face. They then walk away, returning to their duties. The traveler looks down at the invitation as Paimon speaks.
They did say his expense, right?
That's what they said.
We're going, right? For the free food? Paimon means we can at least hear him out.
The traveler looks at Paimon, placing their hands on their hips as they give Paimon a knowing look. It's about the free food, of course, but she's still right. They can at least hear him out. The traveler and Paimon arrive in Fontaine, making their way to Hotel de Board. It's a beautiful day, and the traveler chooses to take it as a sign that he may have good intentions. Though it's difficult to save the Fatui. While they've had several interactions that were almost pleasant, many have been far from. Knowing this, they keep their guard up. They approach Leon, handing her the invitation. She looks at it briefly before informing them that he's waiting upstairs. Pantalone sits at a large round table. Most of the chairs are empty aside from his bodyguard, who began working for him recently. None can agree on what his service is to him. There are rumors that he was engineered to serve as a doctor for Pantalone. Others think that based on his design, he was created by the Fontaine Research Institute as a personal bodyguard. It certainly seems possible as they're usually seen together now. Regardless, those who talk unanimously agree that he can't be human. Traveler and Paimon, I'm pleased to see that you accepted my invitation. The traveler sits, their muscles tense. They thought this would be easier, but they remember meeting him in the desert, being on opposing sides, Ermin's soul burning. He had been involved in all of it. Paimon floats over to a chair. They both look at Pantalone. Relax, look at the menu, order anything you like as I tell you why I've invited you here. Paimon doesn't hesitate, doesn't look at the menu either, as she immediately begins ordering food. The traveler is amused by this, nodding as Paimon orders on their behalf. It makes them feel more at ease seeing Paimon carefree. Not surprising when there's free food on the table. Pantalone chuckles, but he is clearly unperturbed by the large order. I've asked you here because I've had trouble with treasure hoarders in Liyue. They've taken my shipments, probably under the assumption they can resell them. He chuckles again. I'm sure they were rather disappointed.
What's in the shipments?
Paimon asks.
Trying to smuggle weapons into Liyue?
Or maybe delusions? Nothing of the sort, just some local goods. But regardless, it's important that I get them back. I've received word that there were sightings in Bishu Plain. I would recommend starting your search there. He looks at his bodyguard, who places a large bag of mora on the table. I would never ask you to do something for free, so I'm willing to pay you up front. I have business to handle in Liyue, so unfortunately, I can't join you today. But come see me at the Northland Bank in Liyue. I'll have further payment waiting when you know where my shipments have run off to. Until then, do enjoy your meal. Pantalone stands up, his bodyguard joining him as they leave, passing by 2 servers with trays of food. The traveler relaxes, looking at Paimon. You know we can't eat all this, right?
Yeah, but it was free. We'll take it with us.
Paimon looks at the server.
He did pay for this, right?
The server nods. Yes, his payment was more than sufficient.
Oh. Do you have a dessert menu?
Paimon, the traveler says, pointing at the spread of food in front of them.
Fine. To go.
The traveler closes their eyes, pressing their hand against their forehead as they shake their head from side to side.
What? Did you want dessert too?
Upon leaving the restaurant, several Fontaine-specific dishes are added to the player's inventory.
Do you think he was telling the truth?
Paimon floats beside the traveler on their route to Wangshu Inn. Together they decide that asking the staff could provide a direction on where to start their search. Are you asking if I trust what a Fatui Harbinger told me? Paimon pauses, thinking about it.
Yeah, Paimon thinks so. Do you?
No, I'm not sure I can trust any of them, at least not fully. The traveler thinks about their complicated feelings towards the Harbingers. Even the few times in the past they've helped in their journey, it wasn't without a price. They always walked away with something. None more than Arlecchino, who ironically was the Harbinger they likely trusted the most.
Paimon thinks that makes sense.
She floats to the other side.
So why have you agreed to help him?
I want to know what he's smuggling to Liyue. If it's dangerous, we can warn someone. Ningguang, the Adept Eye, or even Zhongli. Regardless, I need to know what it is.
Plus, he paid up front. That's never happened.
I think you're right. I don't think we've ever been paid up front. Upon arriving to the lobby, the traveler speaks with the inn's owner. Have you heard anything about missing shipments coming from Fontaine? She shakes her head. No, but maybe try asking my husband. He interacts with the guests more than I do. If they're talking about it, he may have heard something. Have you heard anything about missing shipments from Fontaine? Some guests were recently discussing some trouble near Wuwang Hill. You might want to check over there. Wuwang Hill is a large area to cover, so the traveler and Paimon decide to visit Qingxi village in the morning to speak with its residents. Surely they'd have more specific directions. They leave very early, just as the sun is coming up.
Why'd we have to get up so early? Paimon wanted 5 more minutes. At least the sunrise is nice.
Qingxi village is a long walk. We should get an early start if we want to get there before all of the shops close. The people of the small village are gathered in the plaza. Most are discussing their day-to-day life. In the corner, a young boy bothers an older man over his ghost stories. And on the opposite side, the tea shop owner speaks up. I've heard about this, but the shipments weren't coming from Fontaine. They're coming from Chenyu Vale, and they're already a day late. My supplies are running low, and those low-life treasure hoarders seem to have no interest in letting them go.
Don't worry, I'll deal with the treasure hoarders.
The traveler has fought the treasure hoarders on many occasions. They're familiar with where their bases are and expect to be done before the sun can go down. As they are leaving, Paimon looks back at the village.
What could a harbinger want with tea?
Nothing, Paimon, because it's not tea. The traveler says angry that he would interfere with the supplies of local businesses. But why? And for what purpose? What could possibly be so important? We approach the first treasure hoarder camp and defeat the enemies, but there isn't much here. Some books and loose papers, but nothing that seems related to the incident. We head to the next camp where we see some crates, but they're destroyed in the fight with the treasure hoarders. The traveler is disappointed, but continues looking around for evidence. There isn't much, again, except some notes. The treasure hoarders explain they attacked a large shipment coming through Chenyu Vale, expecting to get a big haul. However, they were disappointed, even angry with the cargo's contents. The notes do not specify what the cargo is. We head to another camp where we find a ledger mentioning shipments coming from Chenyu Vale, large purchases, delivery locations, and transactions between the people of Liyue and Pantalone.
What if it is tea?
Paimon says. It can't be, the traveler insists. Remember, Paimon, Fontaine uses Chenyu Vale for trade. Paimon waggles her finger.
And there's a branch of the Northland Bank in Fontaine.
Right, so I think whatever he purchased in Chenyu Vale in such large quantities, it's covering up whatever he's smuggling in. We have to stop him.
Look over here at this note. There's a mention of a large treasure hoarder camp. Let's go!
The traveler and Paimon travel to the treasure hoarder camp mentioned in the note. They're surprised when they find all the treasure hoarders already defeated. There are numerous crates and scattered books and pages. A fight went down here.
Paimon doesn't like this, traveler. What do you think happened here?
The traveler looks around, investigating sword marks on crates and large footprints in the dirt. They gasp, realizing the truth. Pantalone has already been here. Cut to Pantalone. Now, I don't have a way to fake this footage in a way that would be time efficient, but at this point, you, the player, would play as Pantalone, showing up to the treasure hoarder camp and defeating 2 or 3 waves of enemies. Being a physical playstyle, he doesn't need reactions, and it feels good, feels powerful, feels intimidating.
So why are we here? Why send us? Why pay us if you knew where the shipments were all along?
I don't know, the traveler says, opening a crate. It's filled high with tea, properly packaged and organized neatly. The traveler starts throwing the tea out, having to lean their body into the crate as they reach for the bottom. It's just tea. Where's the delusions or black market goods, weapons, anything else?
Paimon knew it was tea. Wait, why tea?
The traveler grumbles angrily, their hand closing into a fist. I don't know, but I know where we can get some answers. The walk to the Northland Bank is quiet. Paimon is concerned about the traveler, and rightfully so. They have just been sent on a wild goose chase through Liyue, searching for cargo he already knew the location of. They enter the Northland Bank. It's relatively quiet despite customers coming and going. They approach the front desk to speak with the receptionist, but are called over by Andre, standing off to the side. You're clear to head upstairs. He's waiting for you. The traveler nods, stepping away. The traveler walks towards the stairs, heading up to speak with Pantalone. They're upset, but they don't know what to say, or where to begin. Paimon's face remains painted with worry. They want to comfort her as they don't like seeing their friend upset. They have been through so much together. But again, they find themselves at a loss for words. The traveler and Paimon enter his office. Traveler and Paimon, you've returned. Not a moment too soon. Sit down. Have some tea. We just made a fresh pot. He motions to his bodyguard, who serves 2 cups to their guest. The traveler sets their cup down, not interested. I trust your investigation was productive? Paimon looks at the traveler, then at Pantalone, before sniffing and eyeing her tea with hesitation. I promise you, it's just tea. The best Liyue has to offer, all the way from Chenyu Vale.
Aren't you going to have some?
I don't drink tea. More of a coffee person, though the doctor has warned me it's not good for my heart.
Then why did you buy so much tea?
The traveler says, the question having burned inside them. Pantalone opens his purple eyes, maintaining his smile. There's something unsettling about the expression. There's a competitor I have here in Liyue. He's partial to tea, and so I've decided to buy it.
How much tea are we talking?
Paimon says as she finishes her cup, waving at the bodyguard for more. The bodyguard obliges. If she couldn't have snacks, tea would have to do. All of it. Call it an act of self-interest. The traveler looks down briefly, searching through their memories. After a moment, they look up at Pantalone.
You're talking about Zhongli.
Yes, but you don't need to concern yourself with it. You found the shipments, you dealt with the treasure hoarders, you did exactly as I asked, and now you'll be paid for it. The bodyguard approaches, delivering the payment to the traveler, as promised.
I don't understand.
You're not meant to.
No, I mean, you found the shipments first.
I don't see how I could have. I've been in the Northland Bank this whole time. The traveler falls quiet. They didn't have evidence that Pantalone had been there. Other than a footprint in the dirt and sword marks on the crates, they had nothing. And that alone wasn't enough to accuse him of anything.
Zhongli is kind and fair.
Fair? The man you know as Zhongli may be fair. But how much do you know about Rex Lapis? He created Mora? Controlled its distribution? Does a god who is fair allow his people to suffer in poverty?
Well, no. He can't just give more to everyone. That'd destroy the economy. Yeah, it's not that simple.
I would agree. So why is my control over tea any different? I'm selling it to its vendors, albeit at a higher margin. But they receive their tea, their businesses continue to thrive, life goes on.
What do you want?
Simple. I want balance between gods and man. If they wish to walk among us, then should they not be subject to the laws of the world? The line I walk is difficult, to desire fairness while also executing control. But it's a line I must walk all the same.
Are all harbingers the same? Obsessed with godhood or power?
Of course not. I watched a man attain godhood and then die almost as quickly. Shame too. I had to have a new doctor built. The traveler and Paimon look at the bodyguard as he approaches them. Our business has concluded. My bodyguard will escort you out. The traveler is frustrated. They still have so many questions, but they don't want to make a scene. They leave the Northland Bank quietly, waiting until they are out of earshot from the Fatui guard on duty.
I still didn't get answers as to why he sent us to look for those shipments of tea. Do you think we should tell Zhongli?
I don't know.
He's not in danger. I doubt he's unaware that some people aren't particularly fond of him. So, what do we do?
Nothing, for now. I'm not sure there is anything we can do. I know my voice acting is far from professional, and part of that is my lack of patience sitting in a room with no AC. There are likely some inconsistencies in my story as well, seeing as I'm not an expert in economics. But regardless, I hope it was enough to get you interested not only in the idea of Pantalone becoming playable, but also my concepts for fixing the story quests for other characters like Hokumi, or exploring alternatives to good quests like Zhongli. Yeah, I already have an idea for that one too. You may have noticed me mentioning a bodyguard of sorts for Pantalone. This is a character I came up with as a dedicated support for him, and a solution to making older physical characters relevant again. Eula. Making Eula relevant again. If you'd like me to do a dedicated video on this, let me know. And again, a big thank you to my friend Rice for not only standing in for characters, but also making some of the beautiful sets you saw today, like this teapot on screen right now. If you made it this far, thank you. While I never intended this to become two separate videos, I think the story quest became stronger because of it. Any future quest I write will also try to include gameplay, that way you have an idea of how they would play out, just like the one in this video. I don't foresee Hoyoverse revisiting physical units, and certainly not making Pantalone a physical unit. But I hope these two videos show that it could work. You just have to find the right character, and I truly believe no one fits physical better than Pantalone. But that's all I have for this video. Maybe now I can finally stop thinking about physical Pantalone. My name is Chelsea, I write characters, and this concludes my long, sleep-deprived dive into why Pantalone should be physical. Thanks for watching.